GetWiseSystems is my startup. We are in the emerging tech consulting and helping the CIOs to adopt the right technology, right product, right solution. Also helping entrepreneurs to build right products for the future markets. So the first slide. So now the image which I am showing up in the screen is a Gartner's hype cycle growth or hype cycle. So usually any emerging technologies which has been discussed in the market, it takes time. There would be early adopters, there would be some cautious adopters, then it moves into the mainstream adoption, major market adoption happens. So we are in March 2020. This particular image or the graph gave by Gartner was last year. So as per that graph, if we try to interpret, the irrational exuberance is done. That is, hype is over, and already there is we are in the trough of delusion, they call it. So people have realized where to apply blockchain, where not to apply blockchain, in which context we can talk about blockchain, which are the context, business context, blockchain is not necessarily to be discussed. So this was given last year, but key thing to note out of this image, what Gartner has told us, blockchain will create $176 billion business value by 2025. And in a decade time, it would hit $3 trillion business value. We are in 2020. Another 5 years, there's going to be a rapid or a plateau of adoption, they call. So the adoption going to kickstart. This is the high time for people to really get their hands dirty and understand what this technology can do and cannot do. So a little bit more detail about in this image. There are 3 dots there. One is dark navy blue dot, light blue dot, and a white dot. So people really get confused with so many things when they use this word blockchain. Yeah, there are many things happening, right? From people would be familiar with smart contracts, cryptocurrencies, wallets, a decentralized application, distributed storage. So these are much more popular online, but which are the ones which has really got in the hands of customers today, and customers find it valuable to start using it. So the white dots are already received well by the customers. Light blue dots are still being experimented, questioned, and dark blue dots are yet to be proven their business value. Sometime from now, a year or two, you will see most of these dots crossing this hype and becoming one by one validated by the market. So it's a market validation phase. So DLT, distributed ledger technology, which is the underlying technology of blockchain, deep tech, has crossed this particular wave and started receiving early adoption, and it started the growth phase. It is on the growth trajectory now. And less than 2 years is what it's going to spike up. And we people who are in the industry, be it in whatever phase of our career, mid-career, senior management career, or a top management career, moving from one organization to another organization, taking a transition from one kind of a role to another kind of role, it is imperative, it is necessary for us to really get this understanding with respect to this technology adoption. Where do we stand? So this is what we are going to see in this coming up slides, and I'll be equipping you with necessary fundamental knowledge that would help you to think like a product managers of blockchain. So general advice. So last 3 years, 2018, 2019, or 2017, 18, 19, all these 3 years, there were a lot of skepticism. People always used to ask this one, demystify blockchain for me, simplify blockchain for me, because many people always attach that only with the crypto asset for a dark web and for nothing useful stuff. So, but Gartner being the industry analyst and always gives the good advice to the IT and product companies, they've said blockchain is going to here to stay. And last 3 years is one of the strategic technologies which is taking its hold in the market. And now 2020, they have released this image along with other technologies which are related to people-centered and smart spaces. Spaces, what here they mean is that's kind of a foundational. There is a foundational shift happening, foundational changes are happening. Blockchain is going to do one of that. And they are saying now it's the practical blockchain is being talked in the market. So getting the practical aspect of it, where to apply and how to apply. So CIOs, CXOs, CTOs, be whoever, digital officers, innovation officers, change management people, everybody are asked to apply their mind and be a little conscious and also optimistic about this technology. The pessimism is getting over, but being optimistic, cautiously optimistic, and also balance what we can achieve in what time frame, because things which has been invested so far, you cannot throw up and immediately jump onto something which is radically different, fundamentally different, foundationally different. You need to time to move and transition from your central repository based systems to a decentralized distributed storage thing. So this advice comes. Whenever people talk blockchain to you, or they are discussing among yourself, or some talk is going on in your organization about blockchain, it is not one single thing. It is, if you see this particular diagram, it has 5 layers in it. Right from computing, storage, network, protocol, services, logics, components, and application. There is a like innovation think through. That is basically everything which was there prior to 2015. I would take 2015 because that's where enterprise blockchain started picking up its pace. Anything before 2015 and after 2015, everything is questioned, everything is reimagined, everything is rethought. Why we are doing it this way? Why can't we do it differently? So the companies, first generation blockchain companies, leaving aside Bitcoin, Ethereum, Hyperledger, R3 Coda, whichever has reached a kind of a stage today in the last 3-4 years, have gone back to the drawing board of computer subject, rethought at every layer. What can we do it differently, which will make the existing system not just efficient, but totally different in terms of value creation and value capture and value distribution. So blockchain is not one small area of implementation. There needs a thinking at all levels. It's a full stack thinking that is required for the blockchain product managers, engineers, non-engineers, consultants, architects, whatever we do in our day-to-day career. There is a full stack thinking that is required when it comes to blockchain. You cannot think only application, or you cannot only think about storage. You cannot only think about business logic or only about the networking. This also brings a good news. People who were practicing any discipline, they have a role to play in the blockchain world. People who are network engineers, people who are business analysts, people who do only application programming, People only manage the cloud infrastructure. Everyone has a scope to get this full stack understanding and they play their role better for the years to come with respect to blockchain adoption. You would have stored what I've just spoken about in your in-memory. So just reflecting and seeing it in a different context. IDC, the market research company, has layered in four horizontal bars the same thing. What I'm talking about here is this word divergence. So the innovation is also happening at every level, every layer. If you look at the infrastructure layer, all the companies which are in infrastructure business, VMware, IBM, Google, Microsoft, they had been heavily investing in the stealth mode for the last 5 years. Now they started openly talking about their associations, their outcomes and output of their investments in R&D. Frameworks, the next layer is the governance layer. Data governance, information security, information privacy, confidentiality, regulatory in nature, all those kind of technology for good kind of a frameworks, companies have aligned themselves at the protocol and governance layer. Service and use cases. Every business, to be successful in whatever they do, today they should be cost efficient, they should have their profitability assured, their top line revenue should keep on growing, their investment into technology and other costs should be always less, especially technology marketing. So all those companies, all kinds of businesses, right from supermarkets to the aircrafts. So companies selling lettuce, companies which are doing aircraft engines, everybody started experimenting blockchain, and thousands of companies have done their experiments, and many of them got convinced, but still there are some more work to happen. So service and use case layer is getting enriched every day. I would not call every month or week. I would say every day there is a new stuff happening on this layer. Most of our Indian IT service sector colleagues, peers, they have been heavily involved in finding out the right use cases, convincing their existing customers about these new use cases, asking for the budget and doing it. But that's a service layer. So if you see the top left corner, that's where predominantly we do our value creation. But we are sitting and talking about product. So I welcome, I encourage, I urge all the people who are in this particular seminar to think like a product managers and solve problems which can scale, the solutions can scale and capture a big market that is opening up. So let me check. I see some 3 questions coming. So I'm going to check the questions before moving on. Election Commission of India announced that we Indians can vote online via blockchain. Ashutosh, but what are the use cases implemented profitably for which industries? Cryptocurrency's purpose was to be alternative regular currency, but today now cryptocurrency and alternative are used for. Okay. I'm going to answer all these 3 questions, but some of the answers you will get when we go slide by slide. When I talked about use cases, it is not just for private enterprises. There is a lot of use cases for e-governance use cases. So government, there is no wonder all those governments are talking about leveraging technology to bring transparency in their governance and administrative affairs. Coming to the cryptocurrencies, we don't whether it is an asset or it in a currency. RBI kind of regulatory central bankers are still discussing where to place it. There is for time being, at least we will just consider there is a way to move the value through blockchain. That's good enough. What shape and size and how it's going to adopt it, time will definitely tell. I will talk about few things. The other one, profitable businesses. We'll see the billion-dollar blue chip companies, how they are trying to get profitable business models out of this. There is a new business model thinking we need to apply when we adopt blockchain. So what are the business needs? We have touched upon this profitability, right? Everybody wants profit. Everybody wants their business grow every year, minimum 20 to 30% year on year. And cost has to go down, revenue has to go up. Optimize transaction trade cost. Whatever is the business transaction, whatever kind of trade they are involved in, digital, non-digital, commodity, just logistics. So they want to optimize and become an efficient business, cost efficient business. That is not going to change. We as industry practitioners, anybody we meet, what is the cost of doing this and how much in return we would get? We have to answer that. Process acceleration, operational efficiency. Now I'm moving at a 20-kilometer speed and I'm carrying a lot of load as a business. I cannot move faster than this. As an elephant, I can't dance. So large corporates and the executives of large corporates, process heavy, process driven, compliance cultured organization talk about how I can become efficient like a startup, agile like a startup, and also compete with the newcomers in the market who are nimble and agile. Systemic risk, because I'm large in size and so much of things happening at the same time, fundamentally, if my business model gets changed, if there is a risk the way I do business, what will happen to the whole? Any big business, be it small or big, we know how companies come and just go bust in a day. So since 2008, Lehman Brothers crashed till date, we have seen so many companies which were 10 years ago, they were in business, now they are not. There were systemic risk. The systemic risk comes from various directions. Any market dynamics have caused the risk, or they themselves has not managed the risk properly. Monetary and democratization, money democratization. So I'm being very careful about this democratization. Here, what business really asks is, I'm actually a global company. I'm capturing value from every market. I'm playing a role. I want to distribute this value, make the value available, accessible to as much people in the value chain and the stakeholders, the whole ecosystem. How do I do it? I'm not able to collaborate. I'm not able to co-create. I'm not able to participate because my systems are built in a siloed fashion. So this is again a ask from business. Innovation, creativity, collaboration, partnership, heavily used terms, glossaries. So breakthrough innovation for us, when we as a consultant meet, innovation is not for just a 10% save. If you are able to double the value of your business, then innovation makes sense. Otherwise, all these incremental factors can happen through your continuous improvement agenda. So what kind of reimagination, how can you unleash your creativity, think new products, new solutions, new way of making money legitimately through your business is what innovation is all about. I know all your organizations are every day asking you to be innovative, but blockchain is a tool, I would say, you will allow you to rethink many kind of frameworks, many being preached, talked about, but you need all tools and technology, skill and will to do the innovation and the space to operate the innovation. We'll talk how this goes together. Rationalization. Today, companies which are in business for the last at least 2 decades or 3 decades, they are not considered any more relevant. Operating models. We have spoken about revenue models, economic models. Operating models has been changing every day, and they need to be agile and flexible, fluid. So digital transformation, wherever we can apply digital technologies to be less becoming faster company and carrying less load, light in terms of operational, but impact wise we can create a larger. So digital transformation, again, last 5 years being discussed a lot, but transformation is not just happening in one pocket of an organization and everything changes, not that way. But technology has to be understood in true sense and adopted, and then the transformation happens. I have suggested a book for the best question of the day today. My friend, just breathe. We all part of a community. We talk about what is the digital transformation really means to organizations when there is when all these technologies, what it means to the real business value. Keep this in your mind. And when I talk about what blockchain brings by design, fundamentally, you can relate these two and understand. Unique value, anything which is appreciated, anything which is getting celebrated today as excellent, revolutionary technology, breakthrough innovation, why it earns this kind of a reputation? Not because just for cryptocurrencies. So as a technology, a lot of fundamentally the paradigm shift has occurred in terms of controls, information controls. When I mean controls, privacy regulations, which is happening across the European Union or all the continents are talking about privacy, confidentiality, transparency, high availability, high visibility of systems and services to its customer, and resiliency of companies to stay in business in a sustainable way. There is software has become a ubiquitous. So there is no business without any more technology. Every decision taken by every human being is today data driven. And data is fundamentally the blood, or everything is used for making the decision. So there needs to be a control to check the facts, and your decisions are taken on the facts. Whatever you take your business decision on the facts, and there is a rational, there is logic, and it is good for the customer, then business is always resilient. You need technologies to do it. Open source. Enterprise software companies, IBM, Microsoft, Oracle, SAP, we have seen these big mammoth companies, enterprise, proprietary softwares. That era has completely changed. Now their own softwares are available in cloud versions. Java is open source. There are so much of open source from Google, Facebook, and all the new age companies, modern technology companies. You can use it to build. There are models built around it. They are not absolutely free. Open source doesn't mean it is free, but blockchain is also for the kind of impact it can create. All those companies, first generation companies, has kept it as an open source. Information security, which I spoke about, will again come. More than here, we'll talk about cyber security, because nuclear plants, oil refinery plants, your autonomous electric vehicles, your smart homes, everything is now driven by a semiconductor or a data-driven decision-making tool. So the security is at most critical. So no non-negotiable today. And I was just reading an article. $1 trillion are at stake because of the cyber security breaches or cyber security attacks in one country alone. Whatever we build, if we make it weak for cyber criminals or wrongdoers, then it's going to create a havoc in the world. So information security, again by design, has to change. Blockchain people have thought about it. Asset provenance. What here we mean by asset is not, many people know about the use cases about land records. Anything you consider that will appreciate in value over a period of time, asset, your machineries, your real estate, your gold investments, your security investments, whatever you want have an asset, there is a life cycle to it. And there is an origin, there is a destination. If you want to trace this particular asset in a unique, without any redundancy, without any duplicacy, throughout its life cycle, there needs a technology to put all the data together in a seamless way and understand where it stands in its life cycle. So asset provenance is the previous technologies. To do a provenance, you need to mash up a lot of stuff to make it. But today, asset provenance use cases are very common with respect to blockchain, supply chain industry and trade finance industry. That is by design is coming with a blockchain core deep itself. Digital assets, we have seen money getting evolution in the evolution of money from barter system to Paytm wallets today. All are digital. And digital asset or a digital currency, whatever we call, the revolution is the value can be moved on the internet in a click of a button, the way we do email. If that is possible, that's a revolution. And blockchain by design, because of that state transition capability and solving double spending issue of any kind of storage of value medium, digital assets have become the greatest applications of blockchain. We can say 600 plus cryptocurrencies are being floated around in the exchanges and market. Be it so, I'm not going to evangelize about cryptocurrencies, but assets, all the sovereign funds, all the treasury operations of the world, all the central bankers who are minting money for their country are every day thinking about issuing a fiat in digital format. Fiat, I as a like optimistic of blockchain will change very soon into a digital currency for all the society to use. Dynamic and fluid value exchange. So we spoke about asset and tokenization. The unique design, by design itself, you can move value at the speed of light. Why I say at the speed of light is the data transfer on an optical fiber happens at the speed of light. So the value can move from one person to another, can get exchanged at the speed of light. So these things need not be built. So people who heard this talk now so far for the last 10-15 minutes, you might think I need to build all this. No, these are by design comes by the core innovation of the blockchain. The application layer and the business logic layer, the product guys, the product managers who need to solve a unique problem can apply this core innovation and come up with a different kind of products and solutions. Let's look any questions, further questions have come. Sai Kiran, Okay, I have answered that. Raju, Uka, COVID-19, therefore mostly okay. Sai Kiran again, if there are so much of uniqueness, it is natural to expect a lot of business must have full throttle. Nickel, three kinds of profile in blockchain: developers, architect, consultants. Okay, so all your questions will be answered, I guarantee. UCA world, volatility, like things are volatile, uncertain, kiosk, ambiguous. If things are uncertain, one side people look at it as a problem, other side people look at it as an opportunity. Product thinkers, innovators, take the issue and try to solve it. So they always stay on the solution side or not on the problem side. Keeping ourselves on the solution side is always beneficial than becoming a victim to any kind of uncertainty. I am sure you guys have taken time at attending this webinar. You want to be on the solution side. You do not want to be left behind or get stranded because of uncertainty. So other two questions, how to justify, you will get the answer before we finish this webinar. Roles, as I mentioned, people who are transitioning in career from being a network engineer, Wintel engineer, cloud managers, business analyst, be it whatever you are till yesterday. I was a program test manager 10 years, 7, 8 years ago. So quality assurance, I've done everything in the software development lifecycle. But when you want to transition, there is certain conscious moves you have to take in your career. When you want to adopt becoming a blockchain consultant, blockchain developer, blockchain architect, there are options. There are institutes who can help you to get reskilled, upgrade yourself, and get into your new role with full confidence of making it successful for yourself. We'll move on now to the next slide. So product thinking. We are today talking about product. It's a thinking mindset. So what is major difference? People who have spent at least 10 years in career, 10 years ago, a decade ago, nobody would have spoken so much about product. But today, every output, when you're making a deliverable, a small creative, ad creative, or you're making a big system, you should say it is a product of yours. So put yourself as a product thinker is much more important in current context. User first. The mindset is think from the perspective of user. Put yourself in the shoes of, these are very common advices everybody would have heard, but practicing it is very difficult unless we unlearn about taking specs and confirming the specs. So user first thinking, what jobs to be done for that user, that is solving, problem solving. What is the user problem? How complex, how complicated, how strong or deep the problem is hurting the customer. If I solve it, what is that value which will get unlocked? What is the value that can be created? What is the value that can be captured? What is the value that can get distributed across the value chain when we solve the problem? So problem solving mindset is product thinking, but all this, keeping all the stakeholders in mind, this we call it product thinking or ecosystem thinking, is the first thing we need to wear or get adopted to. People who know about thinking hats and all those. So when I get into a discussion with my client or my peers, I just ask them, let's all wear product thinking hat for this discussion. Otherwise, we are not going to solve anything. We really get into a solving a problem, wear a product thinking hat. Okay, so computers. People who have spent 2 decades, they know computers are adopted for fast, speed, less human error, and all those. All are gone. They are no more relevant. No talking about automation. So when product managers discuss about designing a new product for the market, they are not automating anything. Here it is not an automation story saving 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour kind of a game. If there is no digital information, binary, quantum, whatever you call it, if that is not there, first digitize. Then if there are intermediaries who is increasing the cost of the service, cost of the product, cost to the customers, then disintermediate. This is like a kind of problem solving. If things are centralized, if things are held hostage by one company, one person, and trying to take all the value for himself, then democratize that. Decentralize. As I said, if it is held hostage in central location, because information is locked by one person and there is not people who need it, not able to it, decentralize it. So decentralize, disintermediate, democratize, and digitize information systems is a new design thinking for product owners, product managers, product leaders, whatever your title it is. So digital economy, again, has been, everybody can give a number and throw that. Statistically, people say it's a new economy. Anything new is digital, and it's a $1 trillion economy, not $1 billion economy. 18-20% year-on-year growth as of GDP. So you guys, including me and everyone, should have this kind of this principle when we get into the job. When we take a white paper or at the drawing board, coding a script, delivering and managing a software, always this design principles has to be applied in everything we do in our day-to-day career. So we spoke about product thinking and mindset, what design principles we should adopt. Next, engineers. In India, everyone are engineers. Everybody knows to make and break stuff. They are engineers. We are all engineers by that definition. So product engineers, we have seen this 5-layer. We can't do stuff which will not last, or at least it will not worth the value of a customer who is paying for it. And India being a large country and the market is the largest, second largest market, we need low cost innovation. We have to do low cost innovation, but at scale, we should be a very profitable market for anyone to operate. But there is a quality and standards needs to be in place. The blockchain adoption, whatever delay we see, be it whether we are in hype cycle or not hype cycle, and we have already got some adoption, wherever things are getting standardized, wherever the risk is minimized with respect to the maturity of the technology, standardization organization, ISO, IEEE, W3 consortium, internet regulators, whoever is just playing a standardization role, trying to say we'll all use C3 chargers, we C3 pins or something, we'll all use USB 3.0. That standardization, when it comes, interoperability and mass adoption kicks in. So a lot of standardization is already happening. I have been in some certain committees. So infrastructure nodes, when you talk about cloud, AWS is trying to standardize with templates for those first generation protocols. When it comes to peer-to-peer connectivity, whatever type of topology, network topology we are talking about, based on the use case, what kind of protocol, what kind of data packets, UDP, TCP, FTP, in whatever way the blocks quantum of information has to be transferred over the network, there are standardization happening. Protocol consensus. Protocol here is a standard way of every computer agreeing to each other that whatever information has been broadcasted to them, everybody sees the same thing. That's a consensus and acceptance. There is a standardization happening. Process and services, whatever business logics, you're going to code it, program it. There is a way. So there is coding convention, we all know. Whatever programming language we choose to do the logic. But smart contracts is a chain code, smart contract, you call it any name. When you try to communicate to the machine how it should interpret what you are telling it to do as a transaction execution, there is a way, standard of communication and standard of putting it in a right way so that it doesn't make any error. Identity wallet transactions. We all know about digital certificates. Now we also say that I have two identities, one on the real world, another on the online world. Now that is getting unified. Aadhaar getting linked with the Facebook. Courts wanted. So you can have only one identity both in the real world and the virtual world. So identity management, whether it's a human or a machine or a sensor, there is going to be an identity created and identity is going to be unique. Wallet is going to store your identity. So identity management use cases are there. So application layer is going to authenticate, validate that you are a real person, not a deep fake or a bot. If you are a bot, you will have an identity. So one transaction generated by the bot or a human being, that has to be processed according to the identity of the system and given access and permissions and controls so that AI doesn't do what a human's supposed to do, and human, whatever he's supposed to do, he doesn't mimic what AI is supposed to do. So this 5 layers, the IEEE, they have created a lot of working committees to look at every aspect of the blockchain, all layers, all the components of it. What is the standard we need to adopt so that it is robust, it is reliable, it is trustworthy as a system, and somebody who is investing money and trying to expect something out of that, they all enjoy the benefits of that technology. So that is product engineers. All the engineers today, if they want to become a blockchain developers, use this papers, white papers, advice, committees, which are talking about how things are getting standardized. If you are in healthcare industry, there are certain standards, standard way of making blockchain solution. If you are in a supply chain industry, if you are in some other industry, they are trying to create standard across business vertical, industry, and the type of product you're going to build. Knowing and doing by that makes gives a lot of relief. Again, being a consultant, people want to hear out what I can do if there is still an immaturity with the technology. Speed is the game for any business today. Fear of missing out. If you do not reach the customer first and solve the customer problem first and try to give the value to the customer on a continuous basis, then customer is no more loyal to one brand or one particular product. So you have to continuously integrate your innovations to your supply chain, continuously develop it, and you always have to stay in context with the customer. This is an advice, right? When there is a speed is the game, and if you try wait and watch mode, you're going to lose. So CIOs who are always take a calculated risk or market validated, I'll only adopt technologies which are already validated by 100 people, If people try to do it with blockchain, they will not have any second chance. We used to tell how this happens, because blockchain fundamentally changes the business models. The early adopting companies will grow huge. They will not become monopolies, but they will not give you space if you don't join the early adoption team. So it's not a single party system. So monopolies will not happen. But when as a value chain, as a stakeholders or a consortium, if blockchain is going to cooperate, collaborate, at least you should be part of the initial member community operating that community network. Otherwise, you will have less chances to make it big. You will be there, but you will not be making a big business out of it. Therefore, we say sooner the better, but take a small steps, and we will help you in each step so that whatever you do to become a blockchain ready or a future ready, that can happen with less risk. We have so much of developers in our ecosystem, our community. So whatever programming languages today we talk about, there is a programmer in our neighborhood. Any new programming languages, if you just check with your own apartment community, there will be one who would be doing, you call it Lisp, LLP, Python, Ruby on Rails, whatever programming language, someone in your friend circle will be programming it. So there was a time, people who are heavily involved in the business use cases, they use this particular decision-making tool, saying that, okay, blockchain is nothing but a distributed storage. They have just shrunk and only focused on how data is going to get stored in a distributed ledger. So whether I need a distributed ledger in comparison with Oracle, they try to use this. But I would say this is not just sufficient. To be a product owner, product manager, product leader, architect, developer, things has to be thought beyond this. This is a very useful tool to just know whether you have taken a use case and there is a requirement of data available, making the data available on a near real-time basis to all the stakeholders. In that context, this will be very useful, but this is not alone sufficient to become a blockchain product guy. Much more, when we will talk in next few slides, we have to equip ourselves. I'm checking the questions. Sham. Okay, there is Nikhil Gupta. Okay, I have answered that. Sham, there is a concept of assets. How do you map or tag a digital asset on blockchain, real world? Should I paste this in chat to be answered? No. Nikhil Gupta, with blockchain as compared contribution value capture, protocol layer going to, but with so many protocols. Muthu Ganesh, I have a product. Should I re-architect to adopt blockchain? Okay, let me answer one by one otherwise. Sham, there is a concept of assets. So what we mean by asset, it has a value attached to it. And there is one more concept, you will start getting this word popular, is digital twin. When we were talking about asset provenance, and we want to track its value, movement of goods, and the information about the goods. When all things are in transition, the state changes, value changes, information and attributes about it changes when it is active, used. So land records as an asset, mutation, buy, sell, any litigation on that particular asset, it's one unique asset, but the attributes of it keeps on changing over its lifetime. So it can be very well uniquely identified. I have spoken about digital identity. You have to create a digital identity for it, give a state position, Whenever in its life cycle there is a change to its value, change it to its ownership or a condition, you can put it on the immutable ledger. The immutability is basically once you put it there, only read and write or update. There is no delete. Because there is no delete and it is stored as a hash value, no one in the world can make or manipulate that asset or attribute information. So that is the asset tagging mechanism. Value capture at protocol layer. Okay, so Internet 3.0, Internet 4.0, all these are just evolution to describe where we stand with respect to Internet evolution. Protocols, public, permission, public, permissionless, private, permission, private, permissionless. These are again combinations. When it comes to protocol and consensus, we have to see that protocol is the standard set within a network, established network. The network is a network of computers, not nothing else. All 4 computers which is holding the same information should be always in sync. If one computer says different and another computer has a different information, then there is a redundancy comes in, there is a duplicacy comes in, then it cannot be trusted. So information coming from a trusted source, authorized person with the private signature, and all computers are going to record it as per the state information which I've told. Prior state information and the new state information, that's a protocol role. Today, people who want to make product, if you are going to create a new protocol, you have to really become a deep tech company. If you are not going to create a new protocol, the protocols are evolving. So Hyperledger started with 1 and 1.41. They have done 25 releases, I guess, in the last 3 years. Hyperledger 2 is much more comfortable position today, and a lot of production applications are getting. I will talk about how many production applications are built now on Hyperledger. Similarly, Enterprise Ethereum already showing some promising real-world applications. Coda, a lot of banks have taken and created some of those use cases. So there is the necessity for one more protocol or 2 more protocols. Slowly, the investment in the protocol will go away, and handful of protocols will survive, and they will be the mainstream adoption will happen. Typical problems faced by wealth management firms, fintech companies, inflexibility in scaling. How can blockchain transform the wealth management companies, investment management companies, asset management companies, whatever they are. So I have written white papers for bonds and securities marketplaces using blockchain. So they are under threat. So there is a disruption by blockchain. So the custodian role, intermediary role, asset agent role, these will be questioned. A lot of non-value adding parties in the chain will get removed if really blockchain becomes the mainstream adoption. So wealth managers can do better job to their clients by having a portfolio management, fund management, asset management services rethought completely in a blockchain tech. Transformation happens from mind. So first mindset changes, then actually everything else changes. So people who are transforming them can take help from people like us to get the transformation done. Nikhil Gupta, how do you manage change large enterprises given they have legacy systems? A legacy, first generation computer, second generation computer, Kix, COBOL, Foxtron, they are nowhere. Java, I don't think how many are still on enterprise Java. Most of the enterprise systems are on J2E. So they are getting next wave of modernization is happening. When things are getting modernized, the enterprise architecture, we call it enterprise architecture. The enterprise architecture is rethought with blockchain today. So automatically blockchain will have new space for it. Legacy systems will have its life cycle. because they are heavy maintenance systems. So businesses do not have money to maintain them. Blockchain can be applied to any product. Is it only technical? What is the functional side of it? Okay, product owner. So business analyst who wants to become but techno-functional is important. Pure functional will have a trouble. You can't convince. You need to really understand what blockchain brings at the design level. So I would recommend people, nothing wrong picking up programming or coding skills, and technical knowledge is certainly necessary when we are getting into and going to do business with the digital natives. People who have come into market, generation Z type of audience, if they are our customers, then you have to talk with them in technical language. Shubham Jain, being a product manager, how does one build meaningful products? Meaningful products, I've been explaining that. Please follow this and you will get answers. Siddharth, I'm part of a development team which is process R3 Coda settlement platform. SLA, we have how to assure transaction performance. SLA being set by customers. Same issue with user acceptance and multiple user need. What do you have? Okay, this very specific question. It will not help all others, so we have to take it offline about R3 Coda. You can reach me offline. We can discuss, and I'll give you the answer. Can we please get access to your white paper? I will share. If you Sai, we can reach out to me later. I'll share that. Moving on, I hope we are good with the time. I'm going to rush a little bit. So product innovation, problem solving mindset, we have decided. So keeping viability, feasibility, and the customer experience which we want to deliver, that's where the real innovation is there. Product people has to get it right. And once whatever we solve, it has to stay in market at least for 10 years, 1 decade. If you need to have a lifetime value customers, at least long life cycle duration is required. This is kind of a framework. You can find it online, which will make you to think 360-degree about everything that is necessary to keep the product live in the market for minimum of a year, 5 years to 10 years. But you may not get all these roles to perform, but the product managers, we have seen there are webinars coming to become CXOs, but CXOs has to think in all 360-degree, because every company in the future is going to be some kind of a product company powered by digital technology. If the product needs to stay, they should take care of all the aspects, all dimensions. Important thing to take away. So companies which are valued $1 billion today, Forbes have taken stock of 50 companies whose investment has started giving results, yielded true business value. We are not talking about POCs. So this 50 companies which I'm showing up on the screen, capital markets, who are in the capital markets, supply chain logistics, payments business, infrastructure business, banking and finance, trade finance, investments. There may be some are wealth management companies, or also e-commerce, energy companies, health tech companies, transportation companies, agriculture tech companies. So everybody had taken a use case which is most relevant to them and invested a huge money to see where they can take the blockchain to. They've all been benefiting. This shows that the early adoption is getting heated up. Market is getting warmed. So things are going to be on the growth trajectory. People who wants to get on now into the career of blockchain product making, it's a right time to do it. And there is a Block Data article to have complete details about it. So this says everything. So there is 2019 was different. 2020 has seen a whole lot of new companies entering. Almost 24 companies have entered into blockchain, including Google and kind of a large tech giants have invested and confirmed their investments going to continue, and they are going to make this blockchain big and part of their business models. So when those tech giants, where we do use search engines every day, which is powered by artificial intelligence, if the data identity, Facebook, you would have heard, they were talking about likes are not anymore important, trust is important. So how he is going to build the trust in the social networking platform? So trust, you need a unique identity. 600 million or something, or 60 million, some amount of fake accounts has been removed from Facebook. Those fake accounts are used for fake news. Those fake accounts are used for fake likes. Those fake accounts are used for all kind of nonsense. So building trust in every system is important. Identifying everyone uniquely and assuring information security and privacy is most important for the coming days customers, for the future customers. To do it, you have one good choice, and that is blockchain. There is nothing you need to reinvent because it's already there. And for the new kind of uh, global financial inclusion that is required, these crypto assets or cryptocurrencies, whatever you call it, the tokenization concept is going to make world much more financially inclusive than the kind of trade wars going on. So that's all from my side. I think I'm just, the finishing note is like, I've personally involved in the last 4 years very much in the blockchain, its own evolution, and I have evolved along with developments happened in India and across other parts of the world. I've done these projects for mid-size and startups, supply chain project, private loan syndication, trade finance, transfer pricing, skill development, gig marketplaces, securities. So have taken a blank paper, did state transition diagrams, process flow diagrams, network diagrams, and gone to the client, just pitched to him and tried to clarify everything and asked him to put money and develop that. I was able to be successful in some of the assignments, which has given me that knowledge because it was very interesting and exciting to do such thing, what many people are not doing. So I've made this and turned it into my business of advising CIOs, CXOs, how to get ready or transition from the kind of architecture, enterprise architecture currently they use, to a blockchain powered architecture. And they are all innovating using this blockchain technology. And so they don't miss any opportunity which is already ready to get disrupted. Thank you so much for the patient audience and interesting questions.